Grand Rising to all of my kings and queens doing tremendous things. I am Altitude representing Building Never Minds, the hip hop workshop, renovating minds one rhyme at a time. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, all that jazz, and make sure that you ascend and level up each and every single day. Today, on this episode of Soundcheck, I got a special guest on the podcast, my homie, Sean. I want you to talk to the people, introduce yourself, let them know what it is that you do, what you're about, and then we just gonna shoot from the hip and get into it. So, let them know.
Gundam builder, photo editor, Blurred Manor owner. It's a lot. Just trying to do a lot, but keep it together. Cause right now, under the umbrella of Blurred Manor, you can find us on all social media platforms at Blurred Manor. Gundam building and comics is the mainstay of what we do over there.
Okay.
It's building Gundams, making comics, and trading and selling comics. Like, caught a Legacy of Superman #1 signed by the author. And once again, like, just collecting, selling those, just trying to take that money and as well put it back out into the community in different ways, you know what I mean?
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, of course, I know about Gundam and, all that. I'm in the anime, comics, I'm a nerd at heart, but all y'all know that. But for the people in the back and the C students out there, let them know what exactly is Gundam? Like, describe what is Gundam? You say you build Gundams. Of course I know, but describe to them how you build it. What do you do with your comics? How do you make money off of that, etc.? Like, get into the back end of that.
Back end heavy. For me, Gundam and anime came out late 80s, so like mech animes, so they were around the time with Transformers and when Power Rangers early was getting really tough. So for me, the mech anime community as a whole is something that I've always been in love with, and now with the model kits, I've been able to truly give my appreciation for the art form of mech animes in the form of the Gunplas themselves, as well as photo editing, actually like really showing off and growing my skill within the Gunpla building world, you know what I mean? Okay. Just trying to do that. And comic wise, man, right now, all of the comics, proceed-wise, we are going towards working for trying to feed the homeless around Dallas, trying to actually take time to get out here and affect some change with those people, actually get a chance to talk to some of these people, because from what I've seen, a lot of the times, it's problems we could actually just get out there, light leg work, and we can help somebody in a major way. And just with some light leg work, a little mustard seed, bit of faith, I'm just trying to help other people out the way that I've been helped before. Like, luckily for me, I haven't been to the point of homelessness, but I've got friends who have, and I know people who have, and I'm like, it's that safety net of having that network, and it's like, I know sometimes not everybody has that.
Right.
And because I've been blessed enough to have it, it's like, all right, let's get out here and share the things I do know. Maybe it might even just be something as simple as somebody didn't know how to get their benefits from the VA, and that's why vet is on the street. Right. Just something as simple as, hey, I didn't even know where to go, who to talk to, or things like that. And it's like, oh, all right, I know a little something, and I know a whole bunch of people who know a whole lot of something.
Right.
So now it's like really trying to connect people, because I feel like maybe that's a lot of the time where those things go missing and go wrong.
Okay, that's super noble, super honorable. I dig that. I love that, because that's usually what we try to do with our music, is that, we do a lot of benefit concerts, outreaches. When I was talking to you off camera when we met up, I was talking about, how we go to like North Texas Food Bank, or, we go feed the homeless downtown. There's a program that I work with, and the leader of the organization, her name is Rose. Shout out to Rose if you're watching this. But Helping Hands, Open Hearts. It's super dope organization where it's a nonprofit. They go out and feed the homeless community as much as they possibly can. And so, like, it holds a special place in my heart because kind of like how you said, like, oh, well, you know, you were pushed to the brink but never fully been homeless. But you know what it's like to be on that line, tiptoeing. And I know what it's like because after Hurricane Katrina, like, me and my mom were homeless and we came up here and, you know, I talked about like how I used to that McDonald's on Elm Street downtown by the Greyhound bus station, the dirtiest bus station in the world. But you know, I used to take wash-ups in that McDonald's bathroom. And I remember that for 2 weeks we were looking for a replacement, all that kind of stuff, and you know, my mom was crying and we didn't have a place and blah blah blah. And you know, it was one of those where everything shut down. You gotta think, when Katrina happened, it was, you know, no grocery stores were open down there, ATMs were shut down, like all these different kind of things. So it was like a horror movie, you know, where I was like, well, a movie wouldn't do it justice. And so even on the flip side of a natural disaster or something like that, because it's not like, oh, well, we didn't have, you know, money or we didn't have a certain kind of, it was just natural disaster. Kind of like how somebody can have money, but they're in Tornado Alley and a tornado takes their house. So it's not like they were poor and all that. It's just their house is just randomly gone. So they have to start over, and that takes time to get back on your feet. So that's what happened to us. But on the flip side, like you talk about with people in the VA, people that were in the service and stuff like that, or how statistically people are one paycheck away from being homeless. They don't have any savings, they're in a bunch of consumer debt, all that kind of stuff. So like there's so many different reasons of why homelessness occurs. People get hooked on drugs, so you never really know why somebody's homeless. Like I've met intelligent homeless people, and I've met people that, you know, they just kind of squandered their opportunity and they ended up homeless. So that's why it really strikes a chord with me, and you know, we try to give back as much as possible. But for you, how did you get into, oh, you know what, I want to dedicate this to homeless, I want to help out as much as I can? Like where did that come from?
For me, it honestly came from when I moved from Houston up here to Dallas a couple of years ago. There's a very similar McDonald's down there next to our old Greyhound station. That's closed now. But I just like, because I'd come up here on the bus and I just, every time I came up here, I'd see that and I'd just be like, damn. So eventually it just became like a habit for me where I just keep a couple extra bucks on me just to give to somebody, like just keep some extra cash from change or whatever, just to make sure, hey, there's a Mickey D's right there. I know it ain't the healthiest thing to eat, but
it's something.
It's something to eat. Get you something, like, because it's insane to me that we live in a country of abundance, but
that at the moment is still currently the richest country in the world.
But
so they tell us.
But all our people are. We've got a lot of people out here who don't have homes, and to me that's kind of insane, especially with the fact when you drive by certain places in areas of Dallas where you'll have completely empty lots, nobody doing anything with it, and it's like, so we can't make something that's, because we have so many great architects, we can make great efficient housing that isn't an eyesore to anyone and keep people safe from these elements. Because hell, the freeze last year here in Dallas, I just felt that was horrible, because I was like, damn, we inside everything's good, we're warm, but I'm like, there are people out there who could not get inside. And then when you start watching the news and seeing the death toll rise from just it being cold outside,
frozen,
it was something that I felt like, hey, even if there isn't something I can do majorly, let me just do with what I have, that little bit that I can. Like, even if it isn't anything like super major, but luckily for me, I've got people it may not be something huge to them, but to me it's like, I appreciate that. Like my tattoo shop went up where we're selling all of our comics for proceeds to go towards feeding the homeless. Like,
oh, nice.
Shout out One Up and Peanut the Sensei. Appreciate y'all. Like, having those kind of open-hearted people, a lot of the times it takes just something of an ask, and next thing you know, all the doors open up and they're like, oh yeah, we on it. Let's actually do something. Let's make a change. And so for me, it was like an affirmation of, hey, you see something, you want to fix something, and you don't have all the tools to fix it. Ask some people who have some of the tools that you need. And so that's just been kind of the mindset and mission of it. Of, hey, yeah, you may not have all the tools, but if you ask, funny enough, like a lot of the times we're all traumatized into this mentality of everybody's gonna tell me no.
Right.
I'm gonna get denied. Everything's gonna be it's gonna go downhill. Like sometimes just a simple ask to those who you least expect that from.
Yeah.
That's where you'll end up getting that area of help that you thought that you couldn't get anywhere.
Right.
And for me, it's like, all right, well, since those blessings have been given to me, let me continue to bless others, because that's just the cycle for me of, hey, you bless one person, you get blessed somehow, some way. It don't matter how it is. It might even be as simple as I find a parking spot good one day. That was a blessing. I found a parking spot. What you mean?
Right.
And all from just trying to continue to give back to those, because it's just one of those things I feel it's necessary as we grow as well.
Something that plays my heart the most is that when I see people who aren't doing anything. And so, growing up in a single parent household, like no dad around, and growing up in the hood and all these different things, like living in New Orleans, all of that kind of stuff. But I didn't let it deter me from, there's nothing out there in these streets for me. You know what I mean? And there were people who were about that life who knew I was nowhere near, like, this ain't for you, little homie, this ain't for you. And they told me, we better, forget your mama, we better not catch you out here. Like, you gonna go to school, you gonna stay in them books, and you gonna get up out of here. And that was, these were some guys that lived in the Melfamine projects in New Orleans. Shouts out to anybody who knows what I'm talking about there, because I believe they tore them all down now. There was like the Melfamine, there was the Calia projects, all these different things, right? But needless to say, it's like I never aspired to that. And when I look at, different things, whether it's on the news or I go outside and I see people standing on the corner, or, you can just walk outside, you see them at the corner store, all this other kind of stuff. And it's like, what are y'all doing? There has to be some reason. You know what? The Weston station downtown, like, Park Lane station, there's different hubs where you can just name them, and you're going to see people on the corner, you're going to see liquor bottles, you're going to see all these different kind of things, right? So what hurts me the most is that when I see our people not doing anything, or I see our people strung out, or I see our people are the ones that are affected the most. So I decided to look up the homicide rate for 2022. Look at this, and I'll put it on the screen for y'all to see it. But look at this list here. So last year, obviously, Chicago was number one on the list for homicides. 697 murders. 697 murders, and of course, like Philadelphia, New York, and it goes down from there. And they're all extremely high. Chicago is number one on the list, and Chicago's been in the news lately. Like they've closed 4 Walmarts up there, and it's just pandemonium, right? Looting, riot, all kind of stuff, right? And of course, there's crime everywhere, but Chicago is the one that's been focused on in the news, and rightly so, right? But my thing is that when I saw this stat, and then I divided it by 12, I was like, of course, different days, there could be higher rates, lower rates, but that's practically 58 murders a month, 2 murders a day, per day. And that's an average, and it comes out to 697. And you want to know where Chicago is right now? So right now, Dallas is at 90. Halfway through the year, Dallas is at 90. We ended up at 196 murders in Dallas last year. So we're lower on the totem pole, but that's still a lot of some innocent, needless, senseless violence that's happening in our communities, in our cities, in our neighborhoods, our backyards. And my thing is, how can we, affect change in that aspect? Because everybody wants to talk about Black Lives Matter. Everybody wants to talk about, uplifting the community, and you gotta go into the hood and you gotta touch them and reach them and you gotta pull them. And it's like, I'm not doing that. I'm not. Like, my thing is, I've already been there, done that. Especially when it's easier for people to say that who have not lived in those environments, who haven't had to deal with gang culture, who've never been, jumped for $5, who've never been in countless fights, who had to change their shirts walking home from school because they knew they were walking through a territory, but it's the only way to get home because there was no Uber and Lyft back then and all this other kind of stuff. Like, people that say that have never lived in those environments. And my thing is, how can we affect the community without putting our lives or other lives on the line? Or is it one of those things where instead of like reparating, we need to just separate? Is it do we just mine out the good and separate ourselves from the riffraff, or do we still say Black Lives Matter? Because mainly Black Lives Matter only matters and applies to when a white person kills a black person. That's when you see all the riots, the protests, blah 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 blah. But when 4 black guys kill a black police officer in Chicago, I ain't seen not one riot, I ain't seen not one protest, I ain't seen Al Sharpton, I ain't seen Jesse Jackson, I ain't seen, you know what I'm saying? So I ain't seen them. So my thing is, how do we affect the most change in the black community when it comes to homelessness, when it comes to homicides, when it comes to all these different things? What is the best option moving forward? How do we do it?
For me,
I know it's really nuanced. So
to me, it's one of those multi-layered things where I would say, number one, we have to deal with the environment that people have been put in, not by choice, but by best way to put it, the system that has been in place has placed them in a certain spot for a very long time.
That's true.
And when you put somebody in a position for a very long time and then rip any economy that group had, because at one point this wasn't a thought process or issue within the community because we were too busy building banks, schools, hospitals. We were handling our own. But if you look through history, there's several actual lakes that were once black communities. Yeah. That have been just torn down, drowned, literally pushed out. So there's been many times when we've tried to, and now we're at a critical point where we've got to continue to try to, because we're 100% worth it. Every single person within our community is worth it to me. Like, yes, because honestly, a lot of it is people don't have any direction. Yeah. Because for me, I know when I was at my worst of doing whatever I've done in life, I didn't have no direction on what I was doing necessarily. I didn't think about, this has a consequence here. Even when I was in the military, I didn't, even though in the military it's very blatantly put consequences, it's like I didn't always put those into context with what was going on. Okay. I would make decisions based upon a feeling of inadequacies and different things like that. And so for me, I feel like it's one of those things where we have a bunch of hurt individuals, because for the most part, there's, in those extremes, Chicago is one of those places. I feel like that community is just, the community as a whole has been so hurt by their own ways, and such as the other day I was watching a little Reese interview just because I just wanted to understand.
Okay.
I was trying to figure out what was going on, but I couldn't pay attention to what Reese was saying for the look in his eyes. Like, he just, it seemed like he was just not really there. Like, and I was like, that's quite interesting, because it seems like a person who's going ahead and shut it down emotionally. And I feel like as people in general, when you shut down emotionally, consequences and your actions don't matter to you as much. Everything around you doesn't have as much value and importance.
As much meaning. Yeah.
And so, in a place like that, if a kid like that just grows up and that's what they see their value as, then they won't think twice about throwing their life away because they don't find it valuable.
And it's such a delicate situation, because I was even reading about Robert Taylor Holmes and Cabrini Green projects and all these different kind of things, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was the Robert Taylor Holmes where Good Times was supposed to be based out of, I think. Quickly correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on that, but I think it's the Robert Taylor Home projects. But regardless of what, it's just that at the same time, I know we've been put in dire situations, and of course we know all about our history and lineage, tracing all the way back to Africa and our roots and the diaspora and everything like that, and being sold into slavery by white folks and black folks. Like it's way, the whole Egyptology and everything like that goes into that. It's way layered. But in 2023, at this point and stage in our lives, I just want accountability to be taking place too. And I get this at an early age too, because you'll see little kids being influenced by people that they look up to. And who do they look up to? The people that are already in dire situations. They're already on EBT and food stamps, and they're growing up in the projects and they're gang affiliated, and so they're looking up to them, and it's just a cycle, just over and over and over, and it's just generational trauma and curses being passed down. So it's like, how does that cycle become broken? Like, how do we take accountability and say, you know what, even though I'm of the environment, I'm not going to be a product of it. Like, I'm going to make sure that I rise above, because I know on an individual level, it's easy to say. It's easy for me to say, you know what, I grew up in the projects, but I knew I didn't want that lifestyle. But it's hard as an entire group, a culture, so how does that change get affected?
That change get affected, in my mind, in a culture of actually healing those things that we haven't dealt with, talked about like that. Like, some people, you can ask them, ask them a story about their parents when they was young.
Right.
And they'll be able to spout off a whole bunch of stuff about their parents as their parents were young individuals. From what their parents told them, their recollections and everything else like that. And their parents shared their story and their issues with them. They didn't hide and feel like, oh, I need to be ashamed of who I was or anything like that. And it's just something that generationally, when we continue to try to feel shamed about who we were at one point and not like actually take the time to work towards and heal past, then all we're going to do is continue to raise other broken individuals. Because a lot of the times that brokenness, it starts at the top. Like, it didn't, that brokenness didn't just all of a sudden occur. Like, that brokenness is something that has been forced upon the black community for over 400 plus years on this continent. Like, for real, like, it's a messed up, broken mind state that we a lot of people try to break from. You'll see the more successful ones outside of athletics, I'll say, have a lot of them have taken time to do that work to heal themselves a little past that hurt, anger, and frustration, honestly, because that's really a heavy bit of what it is hurt, anger, and frustration from disappointments. Because when you're in those situations and live like that, it's disappointment after disappointment, like, and after a while you become numb to it, and it's like, shit, that's just life, it don't matter. So I think that's one of the major ways, is just really taking time to heal how the community really heal, and everybody, like, this might be weird to say, but even our moms as well, being the major force of who we are, have to also take accountability for the type of men that come out, because those men are to become fathers, and a lot of time when they don't do their job as a father, then it falls on a mother who there are gaps for men that a mother can't always fill, and those emotional gaps, a lot of the time, either there are those who are blessed enough to have enough resilience and other figures around them that kind of reaffirm them, and they're able to push past that in a positive way. And then you've got those who have it in a negative way, where it's like, nah, come into this kind of thing.
Way out.
They don't see a way out for nobody, so they're just like, hey, everybody else come right where.
But it's sad, because at this point they're not even killing out of a sense of survival. They're killing for sport. They're just, it's to the point where when you hear about these murders and you hear about, things that go on, and it's not just Chicago, it's like, it's here, and like we just saw what happened in Allen, what's going on, like what happened in El Paso, and Odessa. Of course, Odessa, the school incident. So it's not just black people, but I want to focus it on us, because at the same time, it's like, I want us to rise as a culture and as a people, and of course it's like, I want human race to rise as a whole, but it's like, I get also too that you can't save everybody. Before it gets to that point, like, what would be the best way to influence the young and allow them to see that there is a better way. But at the same time, it's like, no matter what you do and say, because like you said, when you were younger, you weren't looking for that at the time. So I could say, hey man, like, you don't need to be on these corners, you don't need to be doing this. But at the same time, I'm a kid, I ain't got no options, so I'm gonna just follow what I see. And because I can't work, I can't drive, I can't, so I'm literally stuck in a community. And if I don't have anything around me to cocoon and, keep me in a certain space, then of course I'm going to go out there and, join the gang to feel safe, or, run the streets, because that's all I know. Anytime
I heard, or anybody's story about they've hurt somebody, they killed somebody, it's always, especially when it's here at home, an emotional decision. It's always 60 seconds or 5 minutes or whatever it is that costs them a very, very long time. And being that I've had family members who have had that happen, where it's like, damn, literally an emotional moment cost them everything. And it's even happened to where I've had a family member where it would be that lack thereof true emotional intelligence to grow out of something has completely allowed alcohol and drugs to completely envelop them at this point, because they're sick. They need help. Then if you don't want no help, you really not going to
need the rehabilitation.
You won't get too much help, especially if those who are trying to help you lash out at. But I also understand it. It's like, that's a lot of hurt to be dealing with that drives you to be that sick.
Right.
It's a lot of emotional pain and a lot of traumas that you haven't probably worked through, because I know for me there's still stuff I have to work through that I'm still pushing forward on, that I'm like, okay, I know that's not a immediate, I'm gonna fix that right away, but at the same time it's a, okay, we can start to work towards changing your mind on things. Like, that's really what I'm trying to get across is, hey, we just really got to get in there, and it's dealing with people's emotions with what they've got going on, because a lot of the times it's just either mom's isn't doing this, dad isn't doing this, so I gotta.
Right.
When a child feels they have to go out to make money for the family, there has been a failure at the top of the family.
Right.
So for me, it's when it comes to those kids, I can't even, especially the ones such as in Chicago, if you're going out and feeling like those are things that you got to do, or things that you feel you want to do, there's something much deeper that's probably just sent that child into honestly a very hard shell that's hard to break through.
But it's kind of like how you said, that's a failure at the top once again. From a societal standpoint, a failure at the top with leadership and, government policies, things of that nature. 100%. But also personally in the household, a failure at the parental level as well. And it's like I said, it's so layered that you can't just say, pull up your pants and fly right. It's more than that.
Yeah, it's one of those.
And like I said, that's usually coming from people that have never experienced anything like that. Either all they know are affluent households, gated communities, or the other side of town, and they've never even seen, or they'll let's say they're in a particular neighborhood and they're going out to get something to eat, and they see a homeless guy walking by and they don't even think twice about it.
There are those people for sure, because a lot of the times because I know I've been that person sometimes, like when you're already wrapped up in what you have pushing and going, you don't pay attention to those around you, and sometimes when
it's easy to forget.
It's easy to forget those around you that are in need of service. Like, it's easy to have them slip your mind, because at this point, everyone's just trying to survive in this country.
Yeah.
Like, it's really getting down to a survival element for a lot of people. Like you said, most people living paycheck to paycheck. Yep. They ain't even got it to give. But for real. So, like I said, it's one of those, it's not always about the money to give, because I understand a lot of people, because like,
it's some people you can't give money, because that'll be enabling bad behavior, and you'll probably be hurting them even worse because of the state that they're in. You can't give them, here's $5,000, clean yourself up and pick yourself back up. It's like that $5,000 will be gone tonight. You cannot do that.
That's another thing that has to be also addressed, is definitely the lack of financial literacy within our country.
Yeah.
Because I feel like even me, like, I be having struggles where I'm like, what in the world? Like, what? And it's like, okay, what in the world? Like, my credit, I'm still taking forever and a day to learn and understand this thing, because some of it's confusing to me, because you'll hear people say, you can just go ahead and do the revolving credit, don't even worry about it. I'm like, wait a minute, what? And then you got other people who say, no, you need a completely clean slate, you can't have no debts, and it's like, and then you'll have another version of people who will tell you everything's debt, dude. And I'm like, huh? Like, and at one point it just becomes, especially within our community, who's actually teaching us these things? Because, in my honest opinion, if you're old enough to work and pay taxes, why haven't you learned how to properly do your taxes yourself? And that starts even in high school, because all of us, 15, 16, hey, had to grab a little job, grab a little something just to, because you want your own little money in your pocket. You want to go and you want to have some consumer money. And at the end of it, you don't know how to, you're like, what is this tax form? What is this 10 over? What is this?
The thing about it is that I'm glad that you brought up financial literacy, because that's a very good point that goes into another part of the problem, is that we weren't taught to manage and mine out our finances. Like, you're at an early age, you have to get a job because you feel like you have to help the family. And you know, when you get thrust into going to school, they ask you, what do you want to do? Most people, 90% of kids don't know what they want to do yet, because how would you know? You don't even know who you are. Your brain isn't fully developed yet. You know, it's only a few where the parents instilled in them at an early age, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be this, you know. And like, there's not too many.
We disagree.
Okay, what you got? Well, now, before you go into what you're gonna say, did your parents ever say, hey Sean, we would like you to go into this? Like, were they pushing you in a certain direction?
Honestly, no. Okay. For me personally, my parents never pushed me in a particular direction, as well as, honestly, some of the time,
was it just mainly like, you need to go to school, get a job?
It's the classic, we don't have any actual guidance that we would want for you, particularly as a person. We didn't have a particular vision for you as a person, or at least how we wanted to raise you, for you to grow up with thought processes we wanted to instill, maybe. Because my parents were young when they had, my mother at least was very young when she had me, 19, 20? And at 20, my mama didn't even know what the hell she wanted to do exactly with her life. Right. She just knew, hey, I've got to get out here, make sure, get money, take care of the household, and keep it pushing. Because that's all that was taught. And so at this juncture, I've become more of one of those, I even tell my sister sometimes, hey, don't rock with whatever they flowing with. Don't do it. Where are we at? Where are we at on the float, sis? Right. And she'll be like, somewhere I don't feel like being. And my sister is a very headstrong person, and she's pushing now into a portion where she's like, I can see that she's starting to line up exactly what she exactly wants to do with her life. Okay. Versus the classic, no exact guidance, but go to school, get a job, work 20, 30 some odd years. Hell, me and my sister both said we don't want to sit around work 30 daggum years just for a company that gives us just a portion of what we've worked for. So at this point, it's become one of those, for us, stability looks different to different people, but in the end of the day, it's the same feeling for everyone. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, everyone may have a different vision of what stability means. Well, like actual physical manifestation of what that means. Right. But deep down, it's the same. That stability we're all looking for, it's pretty much the same at a feeling level. Because when you feel you're at that stable point, hell, your stable point could be much lower than another person's stable point. Like, because somebody could have a stable point of, oh, I want to be a millionaire, $200,000 cars, houses, all this, and they will feel, and that they think that'll make them feel stable. Somebody else could have the, hey, I just need an acre, a mule, and a small little shack. Not the mule. hey, honestly, because even me, I'm one of those people, I don't need a whole lot to feel stable. Yeah. Like, for me, it's, as long as I'm able to take care of those around me, then I feel stable. Yeah, I feel like I'm in a position where, like, of course I could be better, but it was a lot worse
at a certain point in time. So now I feel like I appreciate it, but I have everything that I quote unquote need, right? So as far as wants, I don't really have that many wants where I want to go out and, oh, I need to buy this right now, or, oh, that shiny thing, I need it. I don't have those kind of wants, that consumerism, compulsive, just buy. I feel like the way my life is set up, I'm in a good spot, I'm blessed, and now I'm in a position where I just want to build my credit, save, and invest as much money as possible. And so I've just been learning about these different things as far as, stocks and bonds, and reading about, credit and all these different things, right? Maybe like a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. And then I started fully last year where I said, you know what, I'm going to invest. I'm going to put this aside, and then I'm going to just I read about, so have you heard of dollar cost averaging?
No, I'm not actually.
So it's basically, because you were talking about kind of learning how to invest and about credit and stuff like that. So it's basically in investing is that most people want to just put a chunk of money in. But for those that don't have a chunk of money, most people don't have, a couple $1,000s lying around. I'm gonna just throw that in the stock market and see what it does, right? But if you build it over time, just a little bit here, a little bit there, 25 here, 100 there, like just dollar cost average it, just even set it on an automatic, set it, forget it, that kind of thing, it'll help in the long run of just building interest and compound growth over time. So there's I don't want to go into the minutia and details of it, but I feel like financial literacy could definitely be something that we could teach it in schools. Parents can start teaching it to their kids, because I wish somebody told me about debt and student loans and all this other kind of stuff back in the day, where I would never have made those mistakes had I known and had those lessons been taught and implemented to me at an early age. But that's neither here nor there. I just feel like going forward, there can be so much more that we can break that cycle.
Yes,
because you with your kids, and me not having kids yet but wanting kids in the future, is breaking that cycle. Everything that I've learned and that I wasn't taught but I've learned, passing that down and say, I'm not going to have my child in debt. I'm not going to have my child struggling. I'm going to set them up to where they can thrive in their generation, and then that can be the cycle going forward. I feel like in order to help the black community especially, trying as hard as you can not to be a statistic, and then passing on the knowledge that you gained. And that's what breaks the generational curse, because now you're passing on generational wealth, you're passing on generational promise, you're passing on different things that were not given to us, but we had to learn the hard way over time, and now we can give it forward to the next generation.
Well, yeah, most definitely. I think the generational, when it comes down to the breaking of generational trauma and the building of wealth, it comes into play of understanding also that this world is so much bigger than just this country.
Yeah, than what you think it is.
I think
it's a blip on the radar.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the times when we talk about these things, we put it in such a small focus of just the U.S. Mm-hmm. And for me, I've started thinking and looking more into the moving eastward towards Africa, or moving even north of Canada, or even mostly Africa, honestly. As I've looked up and down the Ivory Coast trying to see what the different laws and different immigration they have with them, and the different ways their economies are set up as well. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we've limited our participation in the world economy because of our just kind of the foot on the neck we've had within our own economy. Just trying to, because I know,
just figure out this.
Exactly, because I know there's Because I read about after the Tulsa massacre, all that money that was in the banks and everything else, still technically there. Still built interest. But the problem was because everybody's paper and everything else was cinders, nobody could recover it. So at a point, it's like, we had it. It's just, can't get it. Like there's like there was
Wall Street, Rosewood,
exactly
Village,
so many places that had they been. Funny enough, it reminds me of kind of the thought process of Wakanda, of how the isolationism. How staying so isolated into themselves with their resources alone, not relying on the rest of the world, allowed them to build so much and come from just a simple 5 tribes to the buzzing metropolis and Marvel, just
the Marvelopolis.
Like it's Marvel's richest country, probably,
right
on the world. Them versus Doom, one of the two. But just how they were able to build that through isolationism, but also allowed a lot of stuff to kind of carry on outside of them because of simply
there were still poor places within Africa.
Yes.
Like if we're taking it into the Marvel universe, remember they flew through a force field and got into Wakanda, but there were poor villages. There were people herding sheep right outside so it's not like all of Africa was just wealthy and it was concentrated in Wakanda, same thing. You look at different cities, of course, like Cape Town and all these different places, which that was heavily colonized. We ain't even gonna get into that.
I was about to say, honestly, the reason is they didn't get colonized like everywhere else. Wakanda in the Marvel comics, even for a very long time, even pre-force field Wakanda. They defended themselves and kept everybody out.
Yeah,
you wasn't getting in. Even Cap got trying to get in there. Even Cap got sent home by the chopper. So it's not even like
we do not do that here.
We do not do that here. We do not allow folks in. So that helped and hurt because obviously when you're of great wealth and you keep that wealth to yourself, those like you can have a bit of a resentment, such as how Ryan Coogler showed that resentment in physical embodiment with Eric Killmonger. That just embodiment of, hey, where the hell was y'all? So because we don't necessarily have that real life and we've got to take more of a look at, hey, what can we do with what we have currently? It's like, it's tough. It's a tough ask to try to build up from that spot of emotional despair for a lot of people. That emotional despair is what puts our people in the positions that they are. We take either one or two routes when we have emotional despair. We either grow from it and become even greater if we have the proper influences or the desperation to move, or we get stagnant in it and we become just kind of a crab within the barrel. And we start pulling other people down because it's just us hurting other people because we're a hurt person. So that crabs in a barrel mentality is we have to really call it what it is. It's hurt people continuing to hurt people by dragging them down, as well as getting to the root of those hurts with those people.
Because why they were hurt in the first place.
Exactly, because a lot of the time we can trace it back to a moment. For a lot of people, you can trace it back to a few moments within their lifetime. Hell, even a few moments within their lineage. You can ask their parents. Like, a moment, and they'll be like, you'll either get an answer or you won't.
Right.
And that'll tell you everything you need to know.
So to wrap up the interview, go into a little bit of detail about what's your next move with your comics, what's your next move with your Gundam, how can people get in contact with you for business inquiries and things of that nature. And also, I'll put like all of your links and everything where they can find all that down in the description below. But yeah, just tell them like what's next for you.
Next move right now, we're moving towards focusing on more of that Gunpla Gundam art. Just kind of, to me, because it's a little bit of a niche area. But as a huge mech fan, and I know there's so many mech fans out there, crazy enough, it's like almost one of those subgenres of anime that just you don't feel gets enough love. But then when you start digging and looking, it gets a little more love than you think. And for me right now, next move is trying to go from taking the wonderful shots that I have of my Gundams, the art that I've created, and also moving into creating more custom Gundams. Because right now, my first custom Gundam, the Blurred Manor Gundam, made out of an RX-78. No, I didn't. I did it out of the Wing Gundam from Gundam Wing. I did it out of that one. And
nice. And I'm gonna put some of his pictures, I guess, like right in the middle where you can see his Gundams as well.
Yeah, you'll be able to
talk about it.
Yeah. The custom art, the custom Wing Gundam, that one was just a first attempt, and even with it looking kind of fugly from the jump, like it gave me kind of this like feeling like, oh wait a minute, I really can actually, as I develop the skill and start working on building them more cleanly.
Right.
Because that one was it was rough. Y'all see, it's rough. But it's one of those, I keep them on my desk as a reminder, like, hey, this was the start.
Right.
This was where we started from with painting and different customizations on these Gundams. Now let's push towards the next, which is fully customized Gundams. Hell, even because I know some people who love just having dope statues such as Pops, like Gundam statues. So those as well, because I'm gonna be getting off of my real grade RX, the actual RX-78. I'm gonna be pretty soon building a real grade one of those for a friend.
Nice.
And he wanted it custom, so I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to go ahead and over the next probably 2 to 3 months with everything I've got going on, take my time to really build a true work of art out of these Gundams, because for me they're like a representation of each person. Like each Gundam is, if you watch the series, you'll see their representations of their pilots through time, such as
such a dope show.
Iron-Blooded Orphan series. My boy Mikazuki August. Probably one of him and Domon Kashu, probably two of my all-time favorite Gundam pilots. And the ferocity in which you see Barbados move, and which you see the behavior and the progression of Mikazuki through the show, and you'll see he becomes more and more connected to this Gundam, literally and emotionally, as the series goes on, because it's like a piece of him. Same with Setuna FCA out of Gundam 00. I'm currently working on that one. That one's still getting the GN drive put on to it. So it's like each one takes on the soul of their Gundam. So for me, building each one and taking time to build custom ones, it's me truly now putting a piece of myself out there for other than my sons. Like a piece of my art out there for real, because for a long time I didn't want to put art out. I was afraid of, what do people think? Anybody gonna accept my, anybody gonna rock with it or anything like that? But now it's like, nah, We just gonna put these Gundams out.
Just trying to perfect it.
Yeah, just put these Gunplas out and perfect for you. Like, allow those Gunplas for you to show yourself you've grown. Like, even in a skill that you've grown in some way, shape, or form. Just a physical manifestation of the internal change.
Can anybody buy like one-off Gundams from you?
Oh yes, for sure. Definitely just
because I like to put one right up on the top there on my mantle, you know, next to the pops, you know.
Hey, definitely you can DM me over at Blurred Manor on Instagram, on Blurred Manor Gaming on TikTok, Blurred Manor on YouTube. Like I said, you type in Blurred Manor on any platform, including Kick, we there. But most definitely for me, like I said, just slowly but surely building up each one to be its own individual thing.
Nice.
As well as comics, pushing those. Those are for, honestly, if you want to donate or buy any comics that I have, just go ahead and hit me up, see what the inventory looks like, because all comic donations, proceeds, anything I'm getting from comics itself, that is for doing for the homeless. That is for making sure we take care of those people. The Gundams, hey, that's for my package.
Yeah.
If you get a Gundam from me, because that's a scale of hours on hours on hours. These comics, it's a love,
talent, and keeping the lights on.
Exactly.
Keeping it 100.
Keeping it 100. The Gundams, you keeping the lights on. But these comics,
this is helping the community. This is for me.
Exactly.
So I can keep doing this.
So I can keep doing things to keep pushing out into my community, because a lot of the times with my comics, my comic collection has been built on covers that I've loved through the years and comics that I've read through the years, such as one of my favorite ones was a Wolverine cover, codename Wolverine, and it literally looks like a file. It literally, the cover looks like a file. Wow. It's super dope. I'll definitely I'll send it to you.
You gotta show me that.
So you can see that one is one of those where, once again, an appreciation just of art for me, as well as I do enjoy the story of Wolverine. He's one of my favorite Marvel characters.
Definitely one of my favorites. He's in my top 3. So.
Yeah, so for me, it's one of those, that particular, because it's other people's art for me, in my mind, it's, that art has been repurposed, now let's give it a true purpose.
Right.
Put it towards something else. Put it towards something better. But my own personal me, I'm sensitive about it, but it's mine.
Right.
I'm sensitive about it, but it's mine, and it's for me. So it's never one of those things where I ever try to kind of combine the two too much. Like, it's been asked, one of my buddies asked me, hey, can you do a superhero Gundam? Like, take a Gundam base and make a superhero out of it. And funny enough, it's been on my mind, but still no decision on it. But check in with my Instagram, because it might just end up getting posted somehow anyway. Because like I said, I'm just one of those, I'm not a super consistent with social media individual, but you could always...
Same, I gotta get better at that.
Yeah, I'm one of those, you can still find me on there though. Like, I'm not too hard to reach either when it comes to being in those social media platforms. So it's, like I said, just Gundams, trying to pump out as many custom Gundams as I can over the next year. I've already pushed through one with because I built another Wing Gundam, because after the first one I was like, let me build a real grade now, because the first one was a high grade, and those are more chunk pieces. They're not as, like, you got the entry grades that are fully just chunks that just throw it together. Then you got your high grades where it's a little more piecing together. But for this RX-78, I went full real grade, and thing was like a 300 pieces, I think. Then
Time in.
but trying to fit all those pieces together to actually build up a moving, posable, like actual figure that you could have in the crib for real.
Yeah.
So, like I said, my Gundams, they take a lot of heart. They take a lot of my heart because them suckers special.
Well, man, that is amazing. I'll definitely be supporting because, like I said, I need a Gundam right up on the mantle, and I'm looking at an open spot for it. So, yeah, I'll definitely be supporting the business. Put some money in your pocket, supporting the community, all that jazz. I always do because, as you can see, everybody that comes through the studio, when they do an interview with me, I have something from them. Like you see the artwork from Britt when she came. Just different memorabilia that's around here, that there was something that what was gained from the interview. Even if musicians come, it's like got their albums, like their I don't know if you noticed, but I had like different albums circulating, on the screensaver where I need their cover, I need something, like, because I like to what can be gained physically from this interview, because we're giving, this is digital, but I also like to have some physical. So yeah, that'll be your contribution to this interview. I will be buying a Gundam from you, so that will be sitting on the mantle as a prized possession, like Sean was here. This is from when Britt was here, this is from when Sean was here, and I'm gonna do that every single time, and just throughout my house there'll be something of when you were here to do this interview, to do an episode of Sound Check, you'll know such and such was here.
Oh yeah, so sure.
Yeah, Sean, I want to thank you for coming through, man. I appreciate you so much. Before we get out of here, I'm gonna do 3 rapid questions, because a lot of times artists are taken too seriously, and you feel like we don't get to joke or laugh sometimes because we just had a dope conversation, kind of just shooting from the hip about a whole slew of topics. Like, you want to talk sports, we can talk sports. You want to talk anime, let's talk anime. You want to talk politics, we can talk politics. And I love those conversations. So thank you for this. Anytime you want to come through, just let me know. But rapid questions. If in 10 seconds or less, what is your favorite anime and why?
Favorite anime series is Gundam. Once again, mech animes, we get down with war for real. Like, everybody like, oh well, there's not actual war. I'm like, no, there be some consequences to actions. Like, it's not like Dragon Ball Z where you can wish somebody back with a Dragon Ball. No, the moment I blow your Gundam to Kingdom Come, everyone is crying back on the ground because they just lost a friend. Like, this is all time. So yeah.
Nice. Second question. If money was not an issue, even though we all know it is, but hypothetically, if money was not an issue or concern, where would you and your family live and why? If you could pick one place to stay in the world, where would it be and why?
If I could pick one place to stay in the world, I would definitely go with, that's a tough one. Because for me, it's just about that plot, like that, just having that little piece of something of seal. Ooh. But I would definitely go with beach house. I'll try to be somewhere like down in Jamaica, kind of like Lil Duval got his going.
Okay.
I seen how Lil Duval had his going.
I'm mad with Jamaica.
I like that, like, smooth little private little island, unbothered. My cell phone don't really work here. I'll be back to wherever I'll be back to wherever you need me to in a minute. But this is where I'm at. Yeah.
So Gundam, Jamaica, and last question. For the YouTube algorithm, what if I looked in your YouTube history, what would be the most interesting thing, compelling thing that Sean watches where, never thought you would like that?
I watch actually a lot of weaponsmithing videos.
Really?
Yeah.
So like craftsmanship, like how they make swords, how they make nunchucks, things of that nature.
Yes. Favorite thing.
Nice.
Favorite thing that I've seen is every time I see somebody work with and make Damascus steel knives. I don't know, something about just seeing the process of that thing come together. It's mesmerizing for me. I love it.
So on that topic, you're going down the rabbit hole on that one.
Yeah, oh yeah, I will be hours. I will truly be for hours watching a blacksmith do his thing. Video after video, just watch. Like, I've even gone back to the beginning of certain people's blacksmithing videos on YouTube, and you'll see the difference between how they blacksmithed early, like first, especially when they got 3-4 years on their YouTube channel. You'll see those first couple videos. Obviously, they're editing the video portion of that is not great, but you'll also see that their product that they make, it's them wholehearted. It's just not where you see them now.
Right.
You see the true progression of that person overall. So that's why I'm like, I rock with swordsmithing videos, blacksmiths in general.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sean, for coming through. I really appreciate it. I'll have all his links and everything down in the description, and y'all can check it out. Buy some Gundam from him. Go by, support his page, follow him, all of that jazz. But as far as this episode of Soundcheck and this channel, I am Altitude, representing Building Their Minds, the Hip Hop Workshop, renovating minds one rhyme at a time. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and remember to elevate day by day and never let anything keep you from your dreams. Until the next episode, I will see you guys when I see you guys. Peace and one love.